The first thing Captain Jake Morrison noticed about the Kepler station wasn't the gleaming alien architecture or the dozens of species mingling in the central hub. It was the sound. Every 12 seconds, like clockwork, a harsh electronic screech echoed through the corridors. "What the hell is that noise?" Jake asked, wincing as another screech pierced the air. His engineering crew, Rodriguez, Kim, and Okafor, covered their ears simultaneously. Ambassador Viltar, 7-foot crystalline being from the hegemony, clicked apologetically. "Ah yes, the sacred beacon of Zen, malfunctioning for approximately 73 of your Earth years." Rodriguez, the team's lead engineer, stared at the ambassador. 73 years, and nobody's fixed it. "The beacon is a relic of the first civilization," Viltar explained, leading them through the station's main corridor. "Only the most advanced species have attempted repairs. The quantum masters tried for a decade. The Techno Collective spent 30 years analyzing it." Another screech made Kim grab her head. Did any of them actually succeed? Success is ... relative. They all declared it too complex for current galactic technology. Viltar's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. The Council of Species voted to preserve it as a monument to the unknowable. Jake stopped walking. "So you're telling me that the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy looked at a broken speaker and said, 'Nope, too hard'?" "It is not merely a speaker, Captain Morrison. The beacon contains quantum entanglement matrices, temporal displacement fields, and consciousness interfacing protocols that..." The sound cut through Viltar's explanation like a plasma cutter through butter. Okafor, their electronics specialist, was already pulling tools from his kit. "Captain, permission to take a look. That noise is driving me insane." "The beacon is housed in the sacred chamber," Viltar said quickly. "Access requires approval from 17 different species councils, 6 religious orders, and the Galactic Heritage Preservation Committee." Jake watched his crew exchange looks. He'd seen that expression before, right before they ignored regulations and fixed something that needed fixing. How long would that approval take? Only 4 to 6 standard years, assuming no bureaucratic delays. Rodriguez was now examining a wall panel that seemed to pulse in sync with the screeching. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy fluctuations. Whatever this thing is, it's not just broken, it's actively fighting itself." Kim had her tablet out, scanning nearby conduits. "The harmonic frequency is causing microfractures in the station's support beams. This isn't just annoying, it's dangerous." Another screech echoed through the corridors, and Jake saw several alien species hurrying past, with what looked like primitive ear protection. A group of tentacled beings were actually pressing their appendages against their auditory organs in distress. "Viltar," Jake said slowly, "what exactly is this beacon supposed to do when it works?" According to ancient texts, it was a communication device used by the first civilization to coordinate their exodus from this galaxy. The quantum matrices allow instantaneous communication across galactic distances, while the temporal fields can send messages backward through time itself. Okafor looked up from his readings. "Temporal communication, that's..." He paused as another screech nearly knocked him over. "You know what? I don't care if it can send birthday cards to the universe's creator. That noise has got to stop." Viltar's form flickered nervously. "Captain, I must stress that the sacred chamber has been sealed for decades. The quantum energies within could be lethal to carbon-based life forms, more lethal than listening to that screech for another 70 years. Rodriguez asked, wincing as the sound hit again. Jake made his decision. It was the kind of decision that had gotten him in trouble with Starfleet Command more than once, but it was also the kind that had saved his crew's lives on countless occasions. "Viltar, where's this sacred chamber?" "Captain Morrison, I cannot in good conscience." "Look," Jake interrupted, "we're not going to steal your precious beacon or paint graffiti on it. We're just going to take a peek and maybe adjust whatever's making that god-awful noise. Think of it as ... preventive maintenance. The Galactic Heritage Committee would have my crystalline matrix dissolved if I allowed unsanctioned access to..." This time, the sound was so loud that several nearby windows cracked. Viltar seemed to slump. "Level 7, Section C12. The chamber is marked with trilingual warning signs." "Great. Rodriguez, Kim Okafor with me. Viltar, you might want to find somewhere else to be for the next hour or so." The sacred chamber turned out to be behind a door that looked like it belonged on a bank vault. Warning signs in dozens of languages covered every surface, most featuring symbols for radiation, temporal distortion, and what appeared to be a stick figure being dissolved by wavy lines. "Cheerful, Kim muttered, running her scanner over the door. I'm reading massive quantum field fluctuations, exotic matter signatures, and ... double quotes. Wait, is that a standard electromagnetic field generator? Rodriguez was examining the lock mechanism. Captain, this door isn't even properly sealed. Look, there's a gap in the quantum shielding big enough to drive a shuttle through. That explains how the noise is getting out, HFY observed. If the chamber were properly contained, we wouldn't hear anything. Jake studied the door. Something about this whole situation felt off. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations couldn't fix a broken beacon, but they also couldn't properly seal the chamber it was kept in. Kim, what's your scanner telling you about the energy levels inside? High, but not dangerously so. It's actually pretty standard for most Federation equipment. Whatever's in there, it's not running at full power. Rodriguez had his tools out and was working on the door controls. These mechanisms are old, but they're not that advanced. Honestly, they remind me of the security systems on those pre-warp Romulan facilities we studied at the Academy. You mean the ones that were deliberately made to look more sophisticated than they actually were? Jake asked. Exactly. Rodriguez grinned as the door clicked open. After you, Captain. The sacred chamber was smaller than Jake had expected, roughly the size of a shuttle bay. At its center sat what could only be the biconal crystalline structure about the height of a person, covered in pulsing lights and surrounded by hovering data displays. It was also clearly held together with what appeared to be duct tape. Are you seeing this? Kim asked, staring at the beacon in disbelief. Okafor was already circling the device, scanner in hand. Captain, this thing is a mess. Half the quantum matrices are offline, the temporal displacement field is running backwards, and someone's tried to fix it with what looks like chewing gum. The consciousness interfacing protocols are completely scrambled, Rodriguez added, examining a panel that was literally hanging by a single wire. No wonder it's making that noise. It's basically screaming for help. Jake moved closer to the beacon. Now that he was next to it, he could see that the ancient First Civilization technology looked suspiciously familiar. Kim, does this remind you of anything? Kim was scanning one of the main processing units. It's got the same basic architecture as our quantum communication arrays, just ... older. Much older, and badly maintained. How much older? Jake asked. Best guess, maybe 1,000 years, give or take a few centuries. HFY had found what appeared to be a maintenance panel. Captain, there's an instruction manual here. It's in 17 different languages, including ... double quotes. He paused, scanning the text. Including Federation Standard. Federation Standard? Rodriguez moved to look over Okafor's shoulder. That's impossible. The Federation's only been around for 200 years. Unless, Kim said slowly, the first civilization wasn't as ancient as everyone thinks. Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. Okafor, what's the manual say about basic maintenance? Standard quantum field alignment procedures, temporal matrix calibration, consciousness interface. Okafor looked up. Captain, this is exactly like maintaining our long-range communication arrays, just with fancier names. And according to this, Kim added, studying her readings, the beacon hasn't had proper maintenance in approximately 73 years. Rodriguez laughed. So the galaxy's greatest mystery is actually just a really old piece of equipment that nobody's bothered to service properly? Looks that way. Jake examined the main control panel. Most of the indicators were red or flashing yellow. Can we fix it? Give us 20 minutes, Okafor said, already opening his toolkit. Make it 15, Jake replied as another screech echoed through the chamber. That noise is starting to give me a headache. What followed was the most mundane miracle in galactic history. Rodriguez realigned the quantum matrices using procedures straight from the Federation maintenance manual. Kim recalibrated the temporal displacement field with techniques learned in basic engineering school. Okafor debugged the consciousness interface by turning it off and turning it back on again. The hardest part was finding replacement parts. The beacon's original components had degraded over the centuries, and some creative jury-rigging was required. Rodriguez used power couplers from their shuttle. Kim repurposed some of their quantum scanner components. Okafor fixed several connections with actual Federation-issue repair tape. Temporal field stabilized, Kim reported. Quantum matrices aligned and functioning normally, Rodriguez added. Consciousness interface is clean and ready, Okafor confirmed. Jake looked at the beacon, which was now humming quietly instead of screeching. The lights pulsed in a steady, soothing rhythm. That's it, That's it, Rodriguez confirmed, though I should mention, Captain, when I was recalibrating the quantum matrices, I found something interesting in the beacon's data banks. What kind of something? Historical records. From the first civilization. Rodriguez's expression was carefully neutral. Captain, I think you need to see this. Jake moved to the beacon's main display, which was now showing clear, readable text in Federation standard. What he saw made him understand why the galaxy's advanced civilizations had been so reluctant to dig too deeply into the beacon's mysteries. The first civilization hadn't been some mysterious, ancient race. They'd been human colonists from Earth, launched on a generation ship nearly 1,000 years ago. The beacon was their attempt to stay in contact with Earth as they traveled to another galaxy. But something had gone wrong. The generation ship had been damaged, and the colonists had been forced to settle in this galaxy instead. Over the centuries, they'd integrated with the local species, and their human origins had been forgotten or deliberately obscured. Captain, Kim said quietly, if this is accurate, then humans didn't just join the galactic community. We helped found it, and everyone's been treating our primitive human technology as sacred relics because they didn't realize where it came from, Ukafor added. Jake stared at the display, processing the implications. Humanity's ancestors had been in this galaxy for a millennium, their descendants scattered among dozens of species and worlds. The technology that the galactic community considered impossibly advanced was actually human. Engineering just older than anyone had realized. Rodriguez, he said finally, please tell me you made backups of these records. Of course, Captain, though I should mention the beacon isn't just a communication device. According to these files, it's also designed to activate if it ever detects pure human DNA in its vicinity. Activate how? It sends a message to Earth. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of message? Colony status report, population counts, resource availability. Rodriguez paused. Coordinates for a return journey. The implications hit Jake like a photon torpedo. For nearly 1,000 years, Earth had been waiting for word from their lost colonists. The beacon, properly functioning, would finally send that message and tell Earth that humanity had not only survived in another galaxy, but had become one of its founding civilizations. Captain, Kim said, checking her readings, the beacon is charging up. I think it's preparing to transmit. Can we stop it? Not without breaking it again, O'Keefe replied. And honestly, Captain should be. Earth has a right to know what happened to the colony ships. Jake considered this. In a few minutes, Earth would receive a message that would change everything. Humanity wasn't just a young species taking its first steps into galactic politics. They were the inheritors of a 1,000-year legacy, with relatives and descendants scattered across an entire galaxy. Let it send, he decided. Earth deserves to know. The beacon pulsed once, brightly, and then returned to its steady hum. Message transmitted, Kim reported. Quantum encrypted, routed through several relay stations. It should reach Earth in about 3 days. Jake nodded, then looked around the chamber. All right, people, we've got about 5 minutes before Veltar comes looking for us. Let's clean up and get out of here. What do we tell them about the repairs? Rodriguez asked. The truth. We fixed their broken beacon because the noise was annoying. They were packing up their tools when Veltar appeared in the doorway, accompanied by what appeared to be a small crowd of very nervous-looking aliens. Captain Morrison, Veltar said, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. The beacon has stopped making noise. What did you? He stopped, staring at the peacefully humming device. What did you do? Fixed it, Jake said simply. Turned out it just needed some basic maintenance. A new voice spoke from the crowd behind Veltar. Impossible. The Quantum Masters spent decades analyzing that device. Jake turned to see a being that looked like a cross between a squid and a computer. The speaker continued. The quantum matrices alone require technology beyond current galactic standards. Actually, Kim said, pulling out her tablet, the quantum matrices just needed realignment. Standard procedure for any quantum communication array. Standard procedure. The squid computer being seemed to inflate with indignation. That device contains consciousness interfacing protocols that predate our civilization by millennia. Yeah, about that, Okafor said, consulting his scanner. The consciousness interface was just running a really old operating system. I updated the drivers. Jake watched the assembled aliens exchange looks of confusion and growing alarm. He could practically see them trying to process the idea that they're sacred, impossibly complex, First civilization relic had been fixed by 4 humans with basic engineering tools. Ambassador Viltar, Jake said diplomatically, the beacon is now functioning as intended. It should provide reliable service for centuries to come, assuming someone performs regular maintenance. Regular maintenance, Veltar repeated faintly. Every 50 years or so. Basic stuff: clean the quantum matrices, recalibrate the temporal field, defragment the consciousness interface. I can leave you a manual. The squid computer, being made to sound like steam escaping from a kettle. DEFRAGMENTED ... The consciousness interface. It was running really slowly, Hookafer explained helpfully. All those accumulated memory fragments were causing processing delays. That's probably why it was making that screeching noise. Jake could see that they were about 30 seconds away from causing a diplomatic incident. Well, we should probably get going. The beacon's working fine now. Just remember to do the maintenance. As they walked past the crowd of stunned aliens, Jake heard whispered conversations in a dozen different languages. Most seemed to involve phrases like impossible, how did they, and humans are terrified. Back on their shuttle, Rodriguez was grinning as he filed his maintenance report. Captain, do you think we should mention the historical records we found? Not in the official report, Jake decided. Earth will get the beacon's message in a few days. They can decide how much they want to tell the galactic community about humanity. Single quotes, S. Extended family. Kim was monitoring galactic communications channels. Captain, we're getting some interesting chatter. Word about the beacon repair is spreading fast. Good or bad? Interesting. Both. The hegemony is requesting detailed technical specifications for our advanced maintenance procedures. The Techno Collective wants to hire us as consultants, and the Quantum Masters are demanding an investigation into how we violated the sacred mysteries of the first civilization. Jake leaned back in his command chair. In the space of an hour, humanity had gone from being a minor species in the galactic community to potentially being its secret founders. They'd also apparently terrified half the galaxy by fixing a broken piece of equipment with basic engineering skills. You know what the really funny part is, he said to his crew. What's that, Captain? Rodriguez asked. We didn't fix their beacon to make some grand statement about human ingenuity, or to prove we belonged in the galactic community. Jake smiled as they cleared the station and jumped to warp. We fixed it because that screeching noise was really annoying. 3 days later, Earth received a message from the Kepler station beacon. The message contained coordinates, population data, and 1,000 years of history that nobody had expected. It also contained a personal note from Captain Jake Morrison. Found your missing colonists. They've been busy. Also, we may have accidentally started a diplomatic crisis. Details to follow. The galactic community spent the next several months trying to figure out how to handle the revelation that their newest member species was actually one of their oldest. The debate was complicated by the fact that humans kept fixing things that everyone else had declared usually because those things were making weird noises or not working right. In the end, the GC did what bureaucracies do best. They formed a committee. The Committee for Human Integration and Technology Assessment spent 2 years studying the implications of humanity's expanded role in galactic civilization. Their final report was 17,000 pages long and concluded that humans were simultaneously the galaxy's greatest hope and its most dangerous one. The committee recommended that humanity be granted full membership in the galactic community, with the understanding that they would occasionally fix things that weren't supposed to be, and that this was probably for the best.